popularity and stuff, and like him, like people coming out of nowhere, like, oh yeah, Steve, we got to make a shirt. Do you have an idea? And he talked about the Austin 316 thing, and then he said he talked about how he was on this phone with his mom. He goes, when you were a kid, I wouldn't let you watch you on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. It was that kind of attitude, and that's my family. They were not for us watching Austin, but we snuck it in, my brother and I. And my brother got his T-shirt that has his flicking off on the T-shirt. Mm-hmm. And I think he snuck it in my brother to buy it, or taught my mom to buy. I forgot how. It was years ago. But yeah, she was not happy about that T-shirt whatsoever. He had a title belt in his hands, and he was flicking off, and yeah. But it was that's where that you had to be older to watch it in. So I they didn't like the Austin 316 whatsoever. I had to learn. I grew up in a religious Christian home, so it was like I didn't totally get it, but then eventually, okay, I get it. I understand why. So. They had to kind of sink their teeth into the Austin character a little bit more, but it was a different time period. It was kind of cool that he kind of rose up from all that too.
I don't know where the thingy means that where he got the idea. I only know of Austin 316. I know it came from John 316.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you anything else about it. Nothing about John's 316.
Oh yeah, that's why it was such a tough thing. Well, one of the tough things for a lot of parents, that time ago, especially all with the cussing and everything else going on. But yeah, it was hard for a lot of parents to. It was hard for a lot of parents to kind of like, I don't know about this. Kind of.
So when I was like 16, for Christmas, I got 2 WWF. Might have been WWF still at that point. I think it still was at that point. I had 2 WWF shirts. One was a Chris Jericho shirt. It's just to break down the walls.
Yeah.
And then I had a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt that had like 3 different panels, like him stunning, him doing the arms raise, and him walking. It said BAMF, B-A-M-F. I didn't know what that meant. I figured it out a couple years later that meant badass motherfucker, but I didn't know what it meant at that time. And it was one of those where, because at that point, WWE was the only thing around, or WWF at that time was the only thing around, that, my mom kind of gave in to the whole Austin thing and realized I wasn't going to, like, flick off everybody and walk around like Austin. So
I thought it said BMF, not BMF.
On the shirt, it said BAMF, which stood for badass motherfucker.
Yeah. Maybe it's on his vest that has BMF. I only seen BMF. I don't know, but I just thought I saw at least not a T-shirt, as a vest that I saw him having that. I thought it was BMF. That's why I say that for. But I have to go back and look at it again. I just happened to glance at it a few times. I didn't really pay attention to all the things that he had written on his jacket, honestly.
This wasn't on his jacket. This was on his T-shirt. That it said that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's when they said T-shirt. I'm like, I didn't see that T-shirt. I don't think so. It's the vest that I seen that had that. But I when I seen, I thought I saw BMF. So maybe just been he had one thing for his vest and another thing for his T-shirt, or I don't know.
On the T-shirt or on the vest on this one, it said DTA.
Yeah, DTA.
And then with Austin, like, they talk about in the a little bit in here. I'm not going to completely spoil it, but they talk about how the Vince McMahon had to become his biggest like foil, because who could top Austin at that point. And then that Austin kind of took The Rock under his wing and hoping that they could do something together because he dug what The Rock was doing. And that's why, like, he was talking about he was having health problems leading into WrestleMania 19, and that he was fine that, if he didn't come out alive with The Rock.
So. They don't tell you anymore. I haven't got that far with it.
And it looks like WWE is pairing up with like History and A&E for a lot.
They did in the past too. I think a little bit too is with Andre and a couple others too.
But there's like weird shows that they're doing with as a combination with WWE guys.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is when you definitely get to the WrestleMania 19 portion, they do talk about what The Rock said to Stone Cold at the end of it. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty good.
All right, I'll definitely intrigued to watch more of it. Absolutely, I said I got about an hour left on it, so.
I'm
But,
still convinced that Hogan should have faced Austin because there are more
that's
people than The Rock.
yeah, that was I talked about obviously years ago, and it was people thought it was gonna happen, but it just sometimes it's okay to have matches that are their dream matches, and man, this would be great. But some matches like that never happen. One of those obviously examples is Taker and Sting, and it's just sometimes it's best that they don't happen for whatever reason. It can always leave you up to what would have happened. Oh, this would have been cool, but it's also not everything's meant to happen that way, and I think sometimes it's better that way, and different reasons. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's they couldn't come up with a winner, different who's gonna lose and what booking and et cetera, et cetera. But like I said, it's just I think it might have been for the best because
Mm-hmm.
if Hogan would have lost or what happened if Austin would have lost, it could have been bad. So, I think it's best that it probably didn't happen, honestly.
I think Austin beating Stone Cold wouldn't have been bad. Or wow, that's the same person. Austin beating Hogan wouldn't have been bad. I do think the only downside is they couldn't do what they did here, where The Rock beat Hogan, but then the Cena and Rock faced off. That would have only been the only problem, is that they couldn't carry it on into the next generation.
Yeah, I understand that, but all things come to what they are.
Mm-hmm. It did lead me again to want to watch 19 again, just to see Austin versus Rock again.
Yeah, and honestly, absolutely. I get to watch that. I didn't get to watch that pay-per-view live, but I seen it shortly after that happened. It was pretty good pay-per-view. I think it
I
was.
think I saw it live. I might have saw it live.
I was going to, but something probably didn't have any money. Honestly,
I think, if I remember correctly, I think my stepdad really wanted to see it because it was going to be Rock versus Austin.
Yeah,
And he was a big Rock fan back in the day. So I think that's why it was ordered.
I had
yeah.
was listening to JR's podcast, Grilling JR today, and they're talking about a couple different WrestleManias, and one of them was WrestleMania 27, and the other one was basically they were talking about what should have been the main event of these different pay-per-view, different WrestleManias, and I'm a firm believer. I back up and I firmly believe in the same way as JR does. The title should be on last, and I know like Triple H and Jericho is like we shouldn't have got on last, and was trying to top Rock and Hogan. I think that they did fine with having the title match to that degree on last. So I'm fine with having the title match on last. It's like it should be, honestly. Of course, now we have multiple titles, so it's now a different situation.
Most cases, I would agree. I think Jericho and Triple H are an example of that thing.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
It absolutely is what it is. And of course, this is the part where we get to talk about some BS that WWE did. WWE let go of 10 people.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about that. And, we were aggravated. A lot of people are aggravated. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with what I'm about to say. Is that I didn't totally agree with the pandemic releases. However, and I understand some people's grief, but it's a normal thing at releasing people after WrestleMania happens, and it's the annual cuts they do every year. I know they did their cuts. I mean, last year was they did cuts every year, and I understand that they got to cut somebody. For one or two, it's like if you keep on people, if you have the same people in the roster for so long, it's like you're never gonna have a turn the tables a little bit. Eventually someone's got to get cut. You can't keep hiring, keep on the same people. And it's just it ain't gonna happen. So, there's a few cuts in that I didn't totally go along with, but some cuts I was surprised at all, honestly. But there's always going to be cuts. There's always going to be releases. I mean, you can't keep the same people on the roster forever. I just think it don't work that way. Obviously, I'm not saying you don't know that. I'm just saying that
And honestly, this is a different position that I'm taking than last year. The problem I had with last year is they re-signed a bunch of people because they're afraid of AEW. They then had record profits and then said, you know what, we're in the middle of a pandemic, goodbye. And that could have royally screwed some people financially. This one, I question it and am frustrated with it because of the people that they cut. Some of the people that they cut. There's a couple that stick out to me. So the people that they cut were Billy Kay, Mickey James, Wesley Blake, Tucker, Chelsea Green, Kalisto, Samoa Joe, Bo Dallas, Peyton Royce, and Mojo Rawley. Samoa Joe does not make sense to me because
that was one I was surprised on. It was weird. It was like when they had announced, I think the day of Raw, they said we're gonna have a new announce teams, and I'm like, okay, they didn't say nothing about Samoa Joe. I'm like, okay, is he gonna go back to in-ring action, or is he gonna go to a different show? But when you actually the one who sent me the message about him getting released, and I was like, Samoa Joe is an odd one. Okay, well, I don't know why that would be, but Peyton Royce, I figured they would keep her on.
Well, the Peyton Royce thing, the thing I'm more annoyed with is they broke up the Iconics and then said, we don't have anything for you. Okay, then why did you break them up? That makes no sense.
Well,
the other part I'm annoyed with is WWE always does this. You have to grab the breast ring. Anytime they give you time on TV, you got to take full advantage of it. Billy Kay did that. Billy Kay got over with this weird gimmick about a resume and whatnot, and like interrupting announcers and stuff like that, where honestly, she was annoying, but she was entertaining. She did that, and they still cut her. They got rid of one of their top women's tag team because they broke them up prematurely, didn't have anything for them. And then when one person from that tag team did what they could to try and make themselves relevant to where they're even in a match on WrestleMania, and you still cut them.
The Iconics, I didn't see them as a top tag team. I didn't see them as something that if I was big man, I wouldn't have invested that much, especially with the position they were in, the booking. I just didn't see the value into it. And I understand with their not Peyton Royce, but the other one you said,
Billy Kay.
I understand it was the annoying resume thing. It could. When you told me that, I was like, I'm not heartbroken over that one. I'm not anything personal against her. I didn't see that. I seen bigger value in Peyton Royce, honestly, especially since she would kind of evolve her character, kind of transform a little bit. I found more value into her, honestly. Not saying Billy Kay to do a good job, but if I were breaking up the Iconics, I wasn't heartbroken over that. I didn't see the point to that team. I didn't see the whole value into it. They're a team that you can have people go over on, or be gimmicky, have the promos, but I didn't see a major value into that one. And to me, if I'm evolving my women's division, I want it to be, something that really takes the eye on that. You're still trying to evolve your women's division. You're still not where you need to be at totally. It means you're only. It's like the men. It's like they still pay more attention to the men. But it's more or less you're still not getting enough characters in there that have a value. I'm not saying every guy in there has a value either. I just didn't see a whole lot of value in my own eyes with Iconics, and Billy Kay was not saying bad, but I think she could be doing something somewhere else. Peyton Royce, I think,
of the three I just mentioned, I think all of them are going to bite WWE in the ass.
Oh, that's fine. That's what I think, honestly. Here's my thought on all that, and it's being AEW, and here's I'm gonna go on record saying that something that I agreed to a partial extent of what Jim Cornette said recently. I was on my lunch break and I happened to catch something that he said. I think with WWE, they saw a billionaire's family invest into this company of AEW. They had their TV time on a major network, and they said, crap, we might have something going on here that we need to take care of on our end. So they signed a bunch of people. So I think, in their own eyes, I think that's where Big Man's thinking, this is not going to be that big of a threat. And they're not going to be that, as far as they're not going to put Big Man out of business. It ain't going to happen. So I think with